Écrin de Fumée by Serge Lutens. Could this be the ultimate cold weather fragrance? Well, it could be. Welcome back to Real Scent Review. It's been too long since I've uploaded a full-length review, but it's been worth the wait. At least it has been for me. I hope it's the same for you guys. This is Écrin de Fumée by Serge Lutens. Masterpiece fragrance. I'm going to ruin the surprise right now. I think this is an incredible offering from the house of Serge Lutens. So this is a relatively new release. It was released in 2023 as part of the Collection Noire. It is not the most recent release from the house, but it is the most recent release from that specific collection. The two other members of that line are La Dompteuse Enragée and I believe La Couche du Diable. So one of the specialty lines from the house of Serge Lutens, a renowned brand amongst fragrance enthusiasts, incredible quality fragrances, interesting fragrances, fragrances that really tell a story. At least that's kind of what I understand about the house. That's the opinion that is shared by a lot of fragrance enthusiasts, myself included. So the presentation is quite minimalist in a way. The box is black. It kind of has a velvety, smooth finish to it. And if you can see here, there are horizontal ridges. There are lines, stripes that go up and down the outside of the box. Very smooth to the touch. It's a pleasure holding these minimalist boxes here. By the way, very important, Serge Lutens bottles, when you buy them new, they come with this little cap that goes on top of the bottle. This cap here, the cylindrical cap, comes separately in the same box. It's just not attached to the bottle right away. And this atomizer actually screws out and comes out like this. This atomizer comes in the box, not attached to the bottle. Like I said, this spherical cap is actually what comes in the bottle inside the box. So keep that in mind. It's not a trick. You haven't been duped or anything like that. That's just how Serge Lutens bottles come in the box. Now, how does this beautiful fragrance actually smell? Well, in the opening, I get some cherry and some plum. In the mid, I get tobacco and cognac. In the dry down, I get cacao and incense. So in the opening, I get a mixture of cherry and plum. The cherry is going to add a tartness, but also a little bit of a sweetness. You know, typical tart, bitter cherry with a little bit of sweetness. Now, it's not overly sweet at all. In fact, the cherry, I think specifically, is lending this a little bit of almost a freshness. It's a really nice, fruity, but classy opening. When I say fruity, I don't mean it goes cloying at all. It's not like a lot of those sweet, cloying, fruity, vanillic fragrances nowadays. No. This is very, very refined, a refined, fruity sweetness in the opening. There's also some plum, which is going to add an additional sweet tartness and also a little bit of darkness, a dark fruitiness here in the opening because of that plum mixed with the cherry. At this point, it is worth noting that in the opening, I do get some reminders of the Guerlain L'Homme Idéal line, notably Le Parfum and the Extreme versions. In the mid, it's all about tobacco and cognac. So the tobacco in this is very dry. This tobacco has no sweetness. It's almost even got a little bit of, I want to say, an animalic bite to it, the way that dry tobacco sometimes can. For example, in Iron Duke by Beaufort London, that tobacco I find is very animalic. I do find the tobacco in this to have a slight dirty tinge, right? Not over the top, but it's a very realistic, dry tobacco. Like before you put it in a pipe and light it on fire, that's what I get in this. It's almost photorealistic. And there's some cognac. At least I think it's cognac. There is a boozy characteristic in this. It's boozy. There's a definite fruitiness to it. It's a little bit sweet, but it's also bitter. There's a richness to it, but it's a dark richness. The way that a nice aged cognac that's been aged in a wooden barrel might smell. And then the dry down, we get some cacao and incense. Now, the cacao in this does add a kind of chocolatey flavor to the fragrance. Now, when I say chocolatey, I don't mean milk chocolate. I'm talking about a very dark, bitter cacao. No sweetness coming from the cacao in this. This is a powdery cacao. It's earthy, it's bitter. I know myself, I don't really like sweet chocolate in fragrances, but you know, cacao, bitter, dark chocolate, definitely. Now, the cacao in this reminds me a lot of certain types of patchouli, the way certain fragrances incorporate patchouli into their scent profile. Patchouli Leaves by Montal is an example that immediately comes to mind. In parts of that fragrance, the patchouli is powdery, dark, you know, it's earthy, it's got that bitter cacao nuance to it. I get the same thing in here. So I do smell the cacao. I don't know if it's coming from cacao itself or a patchouli note, but anyway, that's what I smell in the dry down. And finally, we get that signature Serge Lutens ecclesiastical smoky incense. The incense in this is not super heavy. It is detectable, but would I call this a smoky fragrance overall? Minimally. There definitely is a smoky component, but I don't think the smoke is the main player in this at all. The incense just adds a very nice, classy, deep, meditative smokiness in the dry down to complement all of those other beautiful notes. It works absolutely perfectly. This is an amazing fragrance. So to sum it all up, this is a fruity, tobacco, boozy, smoky fragrance with some bitter cacao. It is utterly delectable. And I don't mean that in a gourmand way. This does technically have gourmand notes, but I would not call this a gourmand fragrance. It's got its sweet characteristics, but again, I would not call this an overly sweet fragrance. The sweetness that does exist in this is just a part of the entire picture here, right? It's a small part of an otherwise large machine that has many moving parts. There is sweetness, but there's also bitterness. There's a smokiness, there's booziness. There are so many characteristics to this fragrance that make it an utter masterpiece in my eyes. And that's part of the reason why I think this is such an absolutely incredible, I would almost say essential cold weather fragrance, because this does not rely on cloying vanillic ambery sweetness or overtly prominent boozy notes in order to make its presence known. At the same time, I find it absolutely perfect for cold and even cooler temperatures. This really makes itself stand out amongst the sea of other cold weather directed fragrances in a very positive and regal and classy way, I might add. Honestly, this fragrance has a little bit of sentimental value for me as well. This was released in 2023, and just after this was released, I moved to Madrid. And I remember the first day I moved here, I went to El Corte Inglés in Nuevos Ministerios, and I sampled this, and it was immediately, I was totally just obsessed with the smell. Love at first sniff, absolutely. I didn't buy it. I did not buy it. In fact, I've only bought this in the past couple of months here. So yeah, it only took me a little bit over 2 years to purchase. But I remember from that very first day, this scent has always been in the back of my mind. Not a day has gone by in the past 2 years that I haven't thought about this. And anyway, so I pulled the trigger recently, and here I am doing a review finally. This is just an utter breathtaking masterpiece, in my opinion. So briefly going to touch on the performance and versatility. The performance is great, and that is not something I can say for all of Serge Lutens' fragrances, but this one has great longevity. I get around 8 hours total longevity. The projection is good, almost right around an arm's length for an hour and a half. So it's not a room filler, but the performance definitely is very good. I would say very good performance here. Yeah, no complaints in that department whatsoever. The versatility, it's a little bit of a mature scent, but that doesn't mean that it's not mass appealing in a certain way. I have received many compliments off this. People say that this smells very nice. I'll leave you with that because at the same time, versatility can be kind of a subjective topic as well. But yeah, I've never received any negative feedback. On the contrary, many people think this is very pleasant. But yes, it's a very unique scent. It is definitely appropriate for seasoned fragrance collectors as well, while at the same time not being too challenging for, newer collectors. I'll say that much. This is a premium quality scent, which is why the price can be a little bit surprising. In North America, Fragrancenet has this 100 milliliter bottle for like $89 US. That is an incredible deal. If this sounds good to you, you should go buy it right now. Here in Europe, it is a little bit more expensive. The 100 milliliter bottle, I could find it on Sobelia for like 122 euros. That's the cheapest I can find. However, I will say this. These 50 milliliter bottles here, I found them for less than 60 euros in some places, so keep an eye out. All in all, guys, this is a stupendous fragrance. Is it the ultimate cold weather fragrance? I would say it is absolutely one of them, like top 10 ever, in my opinion, for the cold weather. Definitely, definitely. This is so regal. It envelops you in a cloud of dark comfort. I'll say that. It has some definite darkness to it, but it's not going to push anybody away. It's unique without being inaccessible. It's such a good fragrance. It really is. I've been obsessed with this for the better part of 2 years now, and I'm glad I finally have it in my collection. I'm glad that I've been able to review it for you guys. And yeah, this is, since Shiseido's takeover of Serge Lutens in 2016, this is definitely one of the better releases. There have been, in my opinion, some flops from the Serge Lutens house since that takeover, but this is absolutely, absolutely one of the better releases since that takeover. In my opinion, I would put this one up there in terms of craftsmanship, quality, uniqueness, and general scent profile and feeling with some of the original Serge Lutens fragrances, like Chergui, like Musk's Kubla Khan, etc., etc., Ambre Sultan, of course. This, in my opinion, is one of the best releases from the house. I won't say it's my favorite, but it's one of them. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you've enjoyed the review. Have you been able to try this? Are you a fan of this fragrance? Are you a fan of the house? Let me know in the comments, guys. It's been a pleasure, and until next time, keep it real.